You Christians today, you keep Sunday worship, you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate Easters, you celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, birthdays, New Year's and January 1st, everything that's not in the Bible. But you call yourself Christians, you call yourself Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal religion, Anglican, nothing that can be found that Christ taught. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless. My name is Captain Joel of Israel United in Christ, and today we're going to go over the foundation of the Seventh-day Adventist religion. And what you're going to realize prior to Ellen G. White, which is the face of the Adventist religion, there was a man named William Miller, in which the Millerites come from. So Ellen G. White was one of the followers of William Miller or the Millerites. So the foundation or the origin story starts with this. The Seventh-day Adventist Church is the largest of several Adventist groups, which arose from the Millerite movement of the 1840s. The Millerite movement was part of the wave of revivalism in the United States known as the Second Great Awakening, and originated with William Miller, a Baptist preacher from Lowhampton, New York. Miller predicted on the basis of Daniel chapter 8, verse 14, in a day-year principle that Jesus Christ will return to earth on October 22nd, 1844. When this failed to occur, most of his followers disbanded and returned to their original churches. Following this great disappointment, as it came to be known, a small number of Millerites came to believe that Miller's calculations were correct, but that his interpretation of Daniel 8, verse 14 was flawed. Beginning with the vision experienced by Hiram Edson on October 23rd, these Adventists arrived at the conviction that Daniel chapter 8, verse 14 foretold Christ's entrance into the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary rather than his second coming. Over the next decade, this understanding developed into the doctrine of the investigative judgment, an eschatological process commenced in 1844 in which Christians will be judged to verify their eligibility for salvation. The Adventists continued to believe that Christ's second coming would be imminent, although they refrained from setting further dates for the event. So the foundation of the Adventist religion, extended from the Millerites, was based upon Daniel chapter 8, verse 14, where some believed that that was the second coming of Christ, and which he got wrong. He had another vision thinking that that was a vision of Christ coming to the holies of holies. But what you're going to realize is both of them got it wrong. The Seventh-day Adventist religion is a false doctrine that was created by William Miller and taken to the next level as by Ellen G. White, which is the face of the Seventh-day Adventist religion. So let's go into the book of Daniel chapter 8, verse 14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So they use unto 2,300 days shall the sanctuary be cleansed, saying that that's when Christ's going to return. This has nothing to do with the second return of Christ, nor does it have to do with Christ coming to the holies of holies place. What these religious leaders got it incorrect is that this prophecy is going into the Greek captivity. What happened is during the 1800s, you have the Protestant Christians took out what is called the Apocrypha out of the King James Version original Bible, and which pertains the history of the Maccabees, going to the Greeks, in which this prophecies came to pass. Now, let's jump up a couple verse to verse 11. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts. So, who is the he? And before we get into the Apocrypha, I'm just going to give you a brief summary of what this prophecy is talking about. So the he that shall magnify himself against the prince of the host is talking about Antiochus Epiphanes when he came into power under the Greek captivity. So he magnifies himself against the prince of the host, meaning he magnifies himself against the Israelites. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. So by Antiochus Epiphanes was the daily sacrifice taken away, meaning the Israelites was not able to give offerings and sacrifice because he took it away from us, and he destroyed the sanctuary. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and they cast down the truth to the ground, and they practiced and prospered. So the host that was given to him was, wicked Israelites that agreed and followed Antiochus' epiphany by sacrificing swine's flesh on an altar against the truth of the Bible and God's laws. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice, and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? So who's the saint that was speaking to the other saint? This is the Maccabee families. You have Mattathias Maccabees, Judas Maccabees, Simon Maccabees, Jonathan Maccabees, I think there's one more, Eleazar Maccabees. So they started speaking against the Antiochus Epiphanes and the Greeks. They went to war with the Greek Empire concerning them taking away the daily sacrifice and trodden underfoot Jerusalem. Verse 14, And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So unto the time period when Antiochus came and reigned over Jerusalem, took the daily sacrifice, destroyed the temple and the people, enslaved the Israelites, until the Maccabee family rose up into power and went to war with the Greeks, was a time frame that Christ was given, or the prophecies was speaking about the 2,300 days, and which is going to the cleansing of the temple, which is Feast of Dedication, the cleansing of the sanctuary. So this is not talking about the second return of Christ. This is going into the prophecy concerning the Greek captivity when Antiochus Epiphanes will march on Jerusalem, destroy the sacrifice, destroy the temple, and go to war with the Maccabean family. Now, let's go further into the history. The Apocrypha was taken out of the original King James 1611 Bible by Protestant Christians in the 18th century. So what you're going to realize is the Apocrypha bridges the gap between the Old Testament and the New Testament. So the Apocrypha is a part of the Old Testament, but it's the missing link of the Greek captivities. You have the Assyrian captivity, which is around 722 BC. You have the Babylonian captivity, which is around 606 BC. Then you have the Persian and Mede captivity around 538 BC. Then after that, you jump from the Persian captivity, the last book of the Old Testament, the book of Malachi, then you go to the book of Matthew, which is the Roman captivity. So you're missing hundreds of years of history in general. Which history? The Greek captivity. When Alexander the Greek came up and rose into power. The Greek captivity occurred 333 BC, which the Apocrypha references. So that's what Christians are missing. The New Testament and the Old Testament is bridged by the Apocrypha, which means the hidden books. A lot of you brothers and sisters in the United States, Africa, Papua New Guinea, you have South Pacific Islands, you have New Caledonia, Solomon Islands, the Fijian Islands, the Pacific Islands. You've been lied to by your Seventh-day Adventist religion, your Protestant religion, your Roman Catholic religion, your Anglican religion. All these false denominations that was taught to you by your slave masters, you've been lied to. But today, we're here to reveal you the truth according to the Bible. Now, we're going to go to the book called the Maccabees and the Apocrypha. Is it in the Bible? Yes, it is. Look, the book of Maccabees, the original King James 1611 Bible, the same Bible that's in all your stores, but that's been hidden from you. And after the Antiochus has smitten Egypt, he returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel in Jerusalem with a great multitude. So what are we reading? The history based upon the prophecy written in the book of Daniel chapter 8, when it says, and he shall march against or go against the host, the people of the prince of the host. This is Antiochus Epiphanes going against Jerusalem. Verse 21, and entered proudly into the sanctuary and took away the golden altar and the candlestick of light and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the shewbread and the pouring vessels and the vials and the censers of gold and the veil and the crowns and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre, and spoke in very proudly. Therefore there was great mourning in Israel in every place where they were. So Antiochus Epiphanes went into Jerusalem and destroyed the temple. Daniel chapter 8, verse 11 to 14 is going into the destruction of the sanctuary, which Antiochus Epiphanes marched down in Jerusalem and took away all the things in the sanctuary, destroyed it, and destroyed Israel. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Antiochus Epiphanes spoke to and gave a presidential order, or what you would call an executive order, that all people should be one people. What does that sound like? All people should be Americans. Today we'll call it Americans or assimilation. Or back then we called it hellenization. All should be one people, mean everybody should be Greeks. Does that sound familiar? In the New Testament, Galatians 3 verse 28, there's no difference between the Greeks and the Jews. Those Greeks were the Israelites that were called Greeks, because Antiochus Epiphanes says all should be one people. What people? The Greeks. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath. It said, consented to his religion. His religion is going into his politics. His religion is going into his Christianity. So everybody consented to his religion. You know what his religion consists of? Not keeping God's laws, profaning God's holy Sabbath, and profaning God's festival days, and sacrifice unto idols. Does that sound similar? That sounds like your Seventh-day Adventist religion. That sounds like your Mormon religion, your Jehovah's Witness religion. That sounds like your Roman Catholic religion, where you guys teach that God's laws are done away with. All of you consent to the same religion that Antiochus Epiphanes was teaching. You consent to the same thing of Ellen G. White today, of the Millerites. You consent to Joseph Smith, Charles Parham. You consent to Pope Nicholas VI religion and all the reigning popes, because none of you keep God's laws. You don't keep his Sabbath days or his high holy days, according to the Bible. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days. So Antiochus Epiphanes gave an order saying that they should forbid to give burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings. Where did we read that? In the book of Daniel chapter 8. Let's go back to Daniel chapter 8, just so that we can read the prophecy showing that that was making reference to the Greek captivity when Antiochus Epiphanes came into power and gave a presidential order or executive order keeping the Israelites from giving burnt offerings, drink offerings, and sacrificial offerings. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And by him the daily sacrifice was taken away. Who's the him? Antiochus Epiphanes. Let's go back now to the book of Maccabees to show you Bible prophecy being fulfilled during the Greek captivity, which we call today history. The book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, that they should profane the Sabbath days and festival days. And that's going that the truth shall not prosper. What is the truth? The laws of God did not prosper because the Israelites was not able to keep God's laws. It was unlawful. It was unlawful for them to keep Sabbath days or festival days like Passover. Or you have Day of Atonement. You have new moons. You have memorial blowing of trumpets. We were prohibited to keep. We kept their religion and their idols. Like you Christians today, you keep Sunday worship, you celebrate Christmas, you celebrate Easters, you celebrate Mother's Day, Father's Day, Thanksgiving, birthdays, New Year's and January 1st, everything that's not in the Bible. But you call yourself Christians. You call yourself Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, Jehovah's Witness, Pentecostal religion, Anglican. Nothing that could be found that Christ taught. Moses didn't teach it. None of the prophets, nor did God say to keep or follow these religions that you Christians follow and you keep. You're doing the same thing that Antiochus Epiphanes commanded or gave an order for the Israelites to do. Let's go back to the book of Daniel, chapter 8, verse 14, to get the proper understanding of what the temple or the sanctuary being cleansed means. Is it reference to Christ going to the holies of holies? Or is it reference to the prophecy that Miller gave, that Ellen G. White, which was a follower of Miller, that she branched off of, and it created the Seventh-day Adventist religion, that false religion? And he said unto thee, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. What is this talking about? From the time period that Antiochus Epiphanes came to Jerusalem, destroyed the sanctuary, profaned the Sabbath and the festival days, forced the Israelites to sacrifice swine's flesh, to force the Israelites to worship idols, and prohibit us to give a sacrifice, will be the time period 2,300 days, which is about 6 years or so, until the cleansing of the sanctuary. What is this talking about? Let's go back to the Apocrypha. 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate this sanctuary. One saint should say to the other saint, how long should a daily sacrifice? That's, where do we read that? In the book of Daniel. Who's that saint? The Maccabees family. Judas Maccabee said it himself. How long? Let's read it again, verse 36. Then said Judas and his brethren. His brethren was the Maccabee family. Behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate this sanctuary. Let's jump to verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren with the whole congregation of Israel ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness. What is that going into? The Feast of Dedication, or what you call Hanukkah. That's the true history of the Maccabee family, which was the family of Levi, what today we would call them Haitians in the Western Hemisphere. They fought against the Greeks, and particularly the Maccabees family under the leadership of Mattathias. When you read the book of Maccabees chapter 2, went up against Antiochus Epiphanes and the Greeks and rededicated the temple. So the prophecy that William Miller gave is a false prophecy. Let's go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 9. For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name. I have not sent them, saith the Lord. So Jeremiah spoke about these false prophets that prophesy false prophecy. Why? Because it didn't come to pass. Because they're not prophets of the Bible. William Miller's not a prophet. Ellen G. White is not a prophetess. In fact, she's a witch. Ellen G. White is a witch, and she's a plagiarist, in which we're going to go in the next video. All right? For those of you brothers and sisters, stick around, stay tuned. Lord willing, you come to find out your true nationality, identity as the Israelites, those that have been scattered throughout the slave trade in the diaspora, whether it is the trans-Saharan slave trade, the Indian Ocean slave trade, the black burden slave trade, or the transatlantic slave trade. Everybody that suffered oppression under the colonization of France, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the British, the Germans are the Israelites according to the Bible. Shalom, Most High in Christ bless.
What is a nation?
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, His word.